Welcome everybody to another issue of European Rotors, the Digital Series. We call ourselves the VTOL Show and Safety Conference, so we clearly define us as the platform for all vertical takeoff and landing systems, being them manned or unmanned, beside the helicopter segment. So today we speak with an innovative producer of unmanned systems, Airial Robotics. First, let's see who I'm having the pleasure to talk to today. Hi, Mr. Schamuhn. May you shortly introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Jörg Schamuhn and I'm located in Hamburg. I was a former tornado jet pilot in the German Navy and have an aviation background with a Master of Science in Air and Space Technology. I am one of the 4 founders of Airial Robotics and I'm its global CEO.
Pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Schamuhn. So you changed from a fixed wing to rotorcraft, but you're not climbing into the cockpit anymore, right? So what is Airial Robotics, the company which you are now leading, and what is your product?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not wearing a G suit anymore. I'm a little bit too old for that. So I turned my attention to the development of unmanned aerial vehicles. And we 4 founders founded Airial Robotics beginning of the year after a 3-year development cycle where we developed our product. Our company is headquartered in Hamburg and we have a clear European footprint. Our research and development is in Hungary. We run an office for autopilot manufacturing and development in southern Spain together with our partner Invention. We have a training facility with our own airport near London. And as I said, everything links together here in Hamburg, where we do the global marketing and sales activities. We are building a flexible unmanned aerial system based on the gyrocopter principle. And this principle allows us to carry a very high payload ratio, fly at a decent amount of speed and covering a lot of area.
Thank you so much. Great footprint in Europe. You're talking about high payload and range as the decisive factors of your product. Which markets you'd like to tackle with this product?
In general, we are looking at 3 verticals out of many that are possible today in the unmanned aerial landscape globally. We are focusing mainly on surveillance, agriculture, and logistics. And the reason why these 3 markets are key markets for us is that, first of all, our system is scalable. So we can build UAVs from 4 kilogram takeoff weight up to 600 kilogram takeoff weight, which gives us a payload allowance of 1 kilogram payload for our very small system, which is called the GT4. And that is mainly for surveillance, carrying a camera. And our largest system would be a GT600, where we can carry up to 250 kilogram of payload, which is very usable for serious logistics operation.
These are impressive figures. I mean, 600 kilogram takeoff weight and 250 kilogram of payload at the right end of your scale. That means we are actually talking about a helicopter, right? My question here, are the big ones also battery driven?
Yes, you are absolutely right, Frank. This the 600 kilogram system is a small helicopter, and interestingly enough, we are even using full-size helicopter parts for making this product out of the manned gyrocopter market. And when it comes to the power systems, all the smaller systems are all electric, which would be the GT4, the GT10, and the GT20. We also have a GT100 that we offer as an electric-only version, but that is the tip over point where you have to think about energy efficiency and energy content. When you consider a 600 kilogram system and you want to have a removable battery, the battery handling itself is a huge problem. So our proposal as a solution is that we offer a hybrid system for systems of 100, 200, and 600 kilogram takeoff weight, which means we have an electric-driven main rotor. Our traction motors are hybrid, which are basically gas-powered plus generator-driven. and we have a battery and a fuel tank on board. So the vertical takeoff and landing and hovering will be done electric. But when we go into fast forward flight, like airplane mode, the gas engines will take over, because that is the most energy efficient for the large systems.
Very interesting. Sounds a little bit like the, at the moment, famous hybrid cars, which are selling good. The family concept itself of your product range seems to open new markets also compared to classical UAVs. Could you give us some examples on these other markets?
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. The flexibility and scalability of the system allows us to adopt to non-common missions. And since we rolled out our system, we got some pretty interesting inquiries that even I didn't anticipate. For example, one is we have the request to develop for a shipping company a shore-to-ship logistics, where we are asked to fly medicals and critical spare parts from the shoreline to a moving ship, so that it does not need to come into the harbor to pick up these parts, which is very cost efficient. Another very interesting example from my point of view out of the maritime industry is, we have a Greek oil tanker owner who needs to do a daily inspection of his hull and all the installations on board. And if he would send a sailor out, he would spend 4 to 6 hours to inspect everything. So he wants to put a drone onto the ship that automatically basically scans the infrastructure of the boat and measures the fumes out of the engine in order to basically make sure that the ship is in a very good condition. And based on the flight envelope and range, we are very well suited to do search and rescue missions, to go out to catastrophic events like earthquakes, wildfires, to look for people or for fires, and since our drone can cover a big area, we are also looking at agriculture. And in agriculture, it's not the analytics, it's basically the doing, like spraying and seeding.
Thank you. So besides prospects, you're really describing scenarios or projects where you are at the moment working on. My question here, are you running these projects completely by yourself, or are you partnering?
No, we are not running everything by ourselves for a very good reason. Our DNA is we want to be an aircraft manufacturer, and we want to do research and development around that topic. So we want to develop the best possible tools for operators to operate these missions. And that means that, we are in very close contact with operators to understand what kind of missions they want to fly, what profiles they want to go through, what safety equipment they need. And then we go back basically onto our drawing board and configure the best possible solution for that mission. And it would, for example, if a hospital would approach us and would ask us to fly organs from one hospital to another, we would say, yeah, we will do the hardware, we will do the cargo bay, we will do all of that, but we will find you an operator who can do the daily operation. So we are teaming up with experts in the operation that can run an airline, and we are providing the best possible aircraft for that.
So besides designing and manufacturing aircraft, you're bringing in your experience and your know-how, like a little bit of consultancy, into these projects. That brings us back to another point on engineering. Where do you see differentiators beside the payload and the range within your products compared to other UAVs?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I think this is why we call ourselves a disruptor in terms of technology of UAVs. There is a fundamental difference between our systems and what is out there already. Since we are based on a gyrocopter principle, our UAV operates, so to speak, in a powerless emergency mode when it is in airplane mode, because it is passive driven main rotor. And therefore, we basically do not need to install any rescue equipment like parachutes or airbags in case of a catastrophic failure of our aircraft, because the gyrocopter principle allows us, in combination with a very high glide ratio of 1:10, to basically actively, in a complete catastrophic failure, fly to a dedicated emergency landing spot due to the glide ratio. And we do not need any power except our emergency battery. We can lose the main motor, the 2 traction motors, we can lose the main battery, and the system still is capable to land safely. So that gives it a high level of redundancy. All the other systems that we have on board, like internal data communication, PWM channels, and so on, are all multiple redundant, and therefore the safety level is very high. On top of that, we enjoy a very large flight envelope. Our top ceiling is about 8,800 meters. We can fly for 2.5 hours. We can carry a payload of 6.5 kilo on a 20 kilo machine, and we can fly 170 kilometers far. The last point, and I think that is also very important when you compare it to other systems, is we are very weather stable. So we can fly up to wind force 10. Our product is rated IP65, so we can fly in a rainstorm or even thunderstorm, and we can land at very high wind speeds. When you compare that to a multicopter, or especially a VTOL, who stop flying at wind force 5, that's when we still take off and land at wind force 10 if necessary.
Very interesting. So you're mentioning safety, and the rotorcraft branch is demanding, actually starting from the design principle, the same level of safetiness within the UAV market, especially if we want to reach things like flying beyond visual line of sight or flying UAVs autonomously over cities. So again, going into the research principles, could you tell us more here on the path to enable these autonomous operations of UAVs beyond visual line of sight?
Yes, we at Airial Robotics strongly believe that the breakthrough of UAV operations on a regular basis is very closely linked to the capability of doing BVLOS beyond visual line of sight over obstructed areas. And in order to do that, we basically need to follow the same safety standards, design principles, and certification processes that manned aviation is good at for so many years, and that is preserving the safety level in the aviation. And we are sharing, the same airspace, although there's a big discussion of, unmanned aerial vehicles being in UTM airspace and manned vehicles being in ATM airspace. We at Airial Robotics don't believe in the separation of it. I think we need to participate in the general airspace, and we need to be a good citizen within that airspace alongside of manned aviation. And that requires that we do a lot of research in terms of anti-collision avoidance, in terms of visibility to air traffic control, alongside the communication capabilities with air traffic control. The drone itself needs to be equipped with artificial intelligence to take decisions in case it detects by its sensors a collision risk, and the reaction to that collision risk needs to be predictable and safe by any means. And these are the areas where we look in. So our research is linked around looking at proper sensors, the software integration, and especially the algorithms and the artificial intelligence that you need to have on board to make the drone pilot independent in even critical situations.
Yeah, you're saying you want to be a good citizen in the airspace. That hits it. I have often heard from pilots that they say, this drone community, they shall follow the principle of good airmanship, when entering the sea. And I can hear you are a former pilot, so this is the heritage which you are bringing in, from my point of view. So absolutely promising and interesting. The concept of the European Rotors Show is to bring everybody together, the industry, the operator, the supplier, and the regulator for everything which takes off vertically. What is your idea? What is your target to be part of European Rotors?
I have a good answer for that, but one comment on the airmanship. You know, when you go to pilot training, the first thing that you learn when you become a military pilot is airmanship. You don't learn to take off and land. You learn airmanship first. And if you cannot inherit that principle, you will never be a pilot. Not a bad one and not a good one. But European Rotors, I think, for us, it's a very interesting concept. And when I heard about it for the first time several months ago, I immediately went to my shareholders and say, there's no discussion, we have to go there. Because it provides a very interesting and necessary environment. Because, you know, you have the rotary industry there, which has a lot of experience in operating safe aircraft. And since we are a rotary aircraft too, we can learn from that experience and can get into discussions with the major players in this industry. So there is basically an exchange of experience, which is super important. The second element, which I find very good, is that EASA is actively involved in the European rotors, and we as a manufacturer of UAVs, you know, have a lot to discuss with EASA. We have to contribute building an architecture of a safe airspace, and the European rotors as a platform gives us the access door to get into the discussion with EASA, and we appreciate that very much. And we're very sad when we learned that you know, the physical event in Cologne could not happen, although you know, all your team members worked very hard to keep it alive, but unfortunately the situation doesn't allow it. And when the new dates came out for 2021 for the physical event, we immediately registered. So we already reserved a stand for 2021, and we are very much looking forward to join this event, because the combination of experience, the training offers that you make, and the platform together with EASA is for us a very, very big benefit. And I believe this will be very successful for us.
So normally, Jörg, I'm ending up with the question like, will we see you on our first live edition on the 16th to 18th of November in Cologne 2021? You already gave it. Thank you so much, really. Thank you for registering to our show. And I mean, you're sitting in front of a beautiful booth. So I can't wait to see you there, to grab the products, to have a talk with you and the whole community. It was a real pleasure to have you with us today. A lot of interesting information. It's a very promising and interesting concept you were describing today. Stay safe. Thanks again for trusting us as the show concept. And then let's meet in 2021 over European Rotors, the VTOL Show and Safety Conference. Thank you so much, Jörg.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity, and see you then.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.